I waited in the car while she made a phone call. Some high school kids drove up in a jalopy in sweatshirts and jeans. They waved 10 pounds of wieners at me for no reason at all and asked me if I'd like to go on a wiener fry. I told them no.
Hey everybody, welcome to an exciting edition of the Simon Says Sports Betting Show. I'm your host, Eric Simon, and this is the show where we talk about sports, but from a betting perspective. And by the way, I'm shooting this video outside as I typically do, and they're doing some work on a roof right behind me. And of course, when you're doing work on a roof, you need to pound incessantly. You need to have a chainsaw. I don't know what that's all about. Probably have a jackhammer up there too. But anyway, if you hear those sounds, that's what it is. I'm going to try to make this quick. I wanted to start off by saying that I think it was about a month ago I mentioned I was going to fund my betting account with $99 and do a little betting demonstration. And I got to be honest, I've never been less confident of pulling something off than this betting challenge, because really my maximum bets, at 4 to 5%, that's going to be like a $4 bet, a $5 bet. So exotics are kind of out, but I will be keeping track of things, and we'll just see how it goes. It's going to be interesting, and then hopefully down the road, if things go well, I can start adding exotics. Again, I'm not confident about this, but I wanted to start with a really low amount. I just thought that would be kind of cool, as opposed to, some of these challenges where you see guys starting with 10,000 and that kind of stuff. I just didn't think that was realistic for most people. So anyway, we're going to see how it goes. The first thing I wanted to talk about before I get into some of the sporting events today is I had mentioned on the last show that I did about my workout ratings, and I want to show you guys what those look like, or some tests that I did. Because in the Kentucky Derby in particular, and I will be putting out a Kentucky Derby guide, I'm going to work on that for the rest of the day. But in the Kentucky Derby, workouts are particularly important. So I wanted to show you how these ratings work, because again, a lot of people will take issue with the fact that it's basically based on time. But if you notice here, this is the first group of stats, and this is for less than, there it is, less than 50%. So a workout rating of less than 50%, you notice a 13.3% win rate, minus 26% ROI. 50% to 75%, you have a 16.2% win rate, a minus 18% ROI. And for what are considered good workouts, 75% or above, 18.2% and a minus 15.96% ROI. On my workout report, I actually have some profitable situations. And you can find other ways to make the workouts work. But I just wanted to show that to you guys. You kind of see what the statistics are behind it, because to me, that's everything. If you can't test something, it just doesn't do a lot of good, especially given that in sports gambling, in horse racing, there are so many things that people believe are true that are not. You've just got to have the statistics. And by the way, a great book to read about that very thing is Barry Meadows' latest work, and I can't remember what it's called. I probably should have thought of that before I brought it up, but Barry Meadows done some great work when it comes to looking at databases, looking at statistics. So let us move on to the races today. I've got some free reports at databasebetting.com. And there's a couple of baseball picks, 2-star plays, so they're not great, and then an NHL pick as well. So check those out at databasebetting.com. Today I wanted to talk about a couple races that I will likely be betting myself, and that's the 10th race at Oaklawn Park. This is the Lawn Handicap. It's a Grade 2 affair, and I just find this race interesting for several reasons. First of all, this is rated R Superstar. You'll notice 20 to 1. Last Samurai is in this field. In fact, I think that's what I'll do. I'll just start kind of talking a little bit about the contenders. Rated R Superstar, first of all, I don't think is a bad horse. I just think this is a tough fit. 20 to 1 is probably a little bit too high. You notice on my win factor report, I have 7 to 1 fair odds. I think that's a little too low. Somewhere in between there, probably 15 to 1 or so would be fair on this horse. Last Samurai has run a couple of really good efforts in the Grade 3 Razorback and the Grade 3 Essex. Both of those were wins. I wanted to get you guys some stats on grade 2 races because it's kind of interesting. The graded races are intriguing in the sense that grade 1 races you really want to see, if possible, previous grade 1 wins or very good grade 1 performances. In grade 2, obviously those grade 1 races matter quite a bit. And in grade 3, it's quite different. In grade 3, you don't really want to see grade 1 and grade 2 experience because those are usually horses that are coming down the class ladder. In grade 3, you're looking for horses that are coming up. Last Samurai, I don't know if you could really say that. It's a 5-year-old horse. But these last 2 races are good. You'll notice a 102 par speed figure at 98, and then some pretty good late speed rations as well. With the late speed rations or LSRs, the higher the better. Stiletto Boy is one that I wanted to talk about because I think that he will likely be laying in second place. So he's going to be in good position. You'll notice he doesn't have particularly good LSRs. He's 8-1 in the morning line. I think that's probably fair. The speed figures are just fair to middling. But he is very important as far as the pace is concerned because I think he can at least ensure a faster pace. And the reason that's important, I'm going to skip ahead here, is because of this horse right here. This is Charge It. Now, you'll remember Charge It from last year. He was second in the Florida Derby, didn't run very well in the Kentucky Derby. But that wire win, check that out, a 23 length win, a 103 par speed figure. And then he had a layoff, and now he's come back as a 4-year-old, started in an optional claimer. He wired that field, and then was kind of second throughout in the Gulfstream Park Mile. That was a very good effort. Once again, though, you don't see particularly good LSRs. The blinkers come on. So the important thing here is that Charge It has to be pressed a little bit early. I mean, if he's allowed to do something like this, you notice this -1 ESR. With ESRs, the lower the better. So you want to see those negative figures. And that's color-coded here as well. So here you see a pretty slow pace in a maiden race. He sets the pace. He draws off. If he's allowed that kind of trip, I think he's going to be incredibly tough to beat and will likely be the favorite in the race. And so that's why I mentioned that I think Stiletto Boy is so important because there's some horses in here, one in particular that I really like at a price. In fact, I'm just going to jump ahead to him. And that's Senor Buscador. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. But this horse is 15-1. He's 5-1 fair odds on my win factor report. I think 15-1 is way too high. And I think much of that is probably coming from the fact that he raced at Sunderland last time. But check out that effort. First of all, an incredibly slow pace. He was 6 wide. He wins easily by 4 lengths, a 99 par speed figure, which is pretty good, and a +1 LSR. And if you want to know about the talent of this guy, in November, he was entered in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, a grade 1 affair. He didn't run well, but this is a pretty good horse. And so this is one that I'm definitely looking at as an upset chance. Do I think this is a great bet? No, and in my little betting challenge, I'll probably be betting $2 on him. But still, you get the idea. I think this horse is definitely an upset possibility. Classic Causeway has run some really good races, but is more of a turf horse. You'll notice in the Essex, which he was second, he did set the pace, but a -1 ESR. There's no way he's going to be able to be that close or on the lead with a -1. And you notice he did that in a lot of his turf scores too, and these are very slow ESRs. So I think he's probably going to be a victim of the pace. Charge It, like I said, does look good, but I'd be looking at Senor Buscador. That is the 10th race at Oaklawn Park. Let's move very quickly to the 9th race at Santa Anita. This race is similar to that race at Aqueduct in that you have a 4-5 favorite. Unfortunately, a very good 4-5 favorite. This is defunded. It's a Bob Baffert trainee. By far the best speed figures in the field. He's got early speed. You'll notice 8 Kieran speed points, and he's run some legitimately fast races. In fact, he was second in the Pegasus Invitational. This is a really, really good horse. He's going to be really, really tough to beat, but he is 4-5. There is a horse that I think might make for a decent show bet if there's a negative show pool, which I think there will be in this case. And I do want you to understand that this is quite a bit different than that Aqueduct race that I talked about, and that this is a legitimate favorite. This horse would have to just run poorly. And that's not likely. Bob Baffert at Santa Anita, he fits for sure. But Midnight Mammoth ranks high on all my reports, and so I think he stands a shot. Now, you'll notice he's also got 8 Kieran speed points, and he's listed as an early runner presser. By the way, that's separate from the Kieran speed points. That's based on the old Sarton style ratings. And what they're looking at is how has a horse won or performed well. So if a horse has won as a front runner, and that's the only time it's won, it's going to be a straight E rating, as you see with Defunded. Defunded has just not shown that it can come off the pace and win. It's run some good races coming off the pace, but still it gets the E rating because it's won on the lead, and you see that here. One or very close. Here he's within a half length. I don't know what their rules are as far as that goes, but that's the way it works. And so when you have the EP, it does mean that the horse has come off the pace to do well before. This horse has come off the pace on the turf too. I like that because generally there's slower paces in turf races, so you're going to have to kick it in a little bit. And you notice this horse did with a -4 LSR. That's a very good figure. So I think this horse could be close to Defunded. I think he could hang on and finish in the money, and maybe, just maybe, Defunded runs out of the money. This would not be a major play for me, but I wanted to point it out. Lastly, I wanted to go to the harness races. I did a bunch of testing on the harness races, and if you haven't played the harness races, it's very, very interesting because you tend to have a bunch of super short favorites, and then you get some long shots in there. And it's been hard for me to find something that works consistently. I literally had one of my database tests with 2,000 races and I think it was like a 25% ROI just fall apart one month. Like 14% wins, -48% ROI. And that's just not doable for me because, again, one of the things I'm looking for is consistency. And you can imagine with this betting challenge, let's say I have that happen in a month where I have that kind of a month and a lot of plays, it would wipe me out. You can't sustain that. So I've looked for some other methods and I found some that have worked incredibly well. In fact, on Wednesday and Thursday, my harness picks were, get this, 15 of 16. But you can imagine 15 of 16, very, very short prices. So I expect that to be the case here, but I kind of want to show you guys how this works. This is my talent rating method. I got a couple that I use for the harness races. And I want to look at this, I think it's the 10th race. Yeah, right here. In fact, we got the grade on this race. Out on Bail is a horse that I'm looking at, and there's several things that I do with the report. First of all, you'll notice here that I've got the connections highlighted in green, black, or red. Red means generally negative. It doesn't mean that they're terrible, but it's just, on the lower side of average. Obviously, green is good, and black means normal. Here we have Out on Bail, who breaks from the rail and has good connections. This is the style rating. And this is just how likely they are to be near the front. And you'll notice this guy leads at 45%. Breaking from the rail, that tells me he's probably going to be either first or second, which is great in the harness races. I'd like to see him leading, but if he's second, that wouldn't be a horrible position either. Speed figures look very, very good. In fact, they top the field. These are median speed figures and current speed figures. Sporty Deal is interesting, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight this race, is that he's got a great, what I call a LEQ, and that's a last, is it LEQ? Uh, yeah, I forget. Late energy quotient. That's it. I don't even know my own ratings. But so his LEQ is pretty good in this race, and that's meaningful too. That's something that actually does help in the harness races. But you want to be in good position. Again, these are color coded, and you'll notice that he's in the red, so he's going to have to work out a trip. Excuse me. Sporty Deal is in the red, so he's going to have to work out a trip. But I think he fits well here and maybe can spice up the exotics. Whether I will bet the exotics, I don't know. Again, the problem with harness racing is you might get a good price, you might get 1-9. And if you get a super generous price on some of these horses, typically it's a bad sign. At some point, I'm going to do a study on betting patterns, like horses that are big underlays or big overlays on the morning line. But the morning lines aren't as good. It's just there's a lot of issues with harness racing. But I did want to show you guys the report. and show you what I think is pretty good play at Buffalo Raceway today, and possibly a decent exacta as well. Now, lastly, I won't show you the reports, but they are free at databasebetting.com. But I've got a major league or a couple major league baseball plays, as I said, also an NHL play. So check that out at databasebetting.com. Want to thank you all for watching this video. Please like the videos, share the videos, subscribe to the videos. I'm trying to get better, and especially now that I'm doing this betting challenge, I will definitely be doing more updates. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Remember, putting out a Kentucky Derby guide too, so that's coming up as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again later.